There was just one more note in that email about the legal fees that I think you might have just skipped
Oh.
over in your reading, that they're already above budget based on services requested by the commissioners and the clerk.
Oh, yep, you're right, there was a little, yep, I didn't see, yeah, you're right.
Okay. Thank you for filling in. Commissioner appointment process.
Whoop, did you skip over
Yeah.
corporate resolution?
Resolution.
Oh, gosh, didn't have
Yep,
numbers, shame on
the
me.
page following the expenditures.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but not saying it.
Yep, there is a corporate resolution. Again, I'll read Heather's notes. Be requesting to the commission to approve a corporate resolution to add Dale Dowdy to the bank's signature cards. With this change, Dale will serve as the primary signatory. I've attached a proposed resolution for your consideration. If you remember, I think it was the annual audit that we've had done, always mentioned that in there, that there's not a second signature.
No.
So this, I think this will,
Dave
Clear
Jones
that up.
used to do that, yes.
I wondered, did the notes from the audit say that they wanted 2 signatures required on each check, or simply 2 signatures available?
boy, I don't remember without
I
getting that.
couldn't find mine.
I thought it was that it needs to be the person who isn't preparing.
Correct.
Right,
Correct.
I don't
Correct.
think it's
So
that
it's not that it's two,
There
it's
needs to
just
be
that
some
it's a different
redundancy.
Okay, I just,
human body.
I couldn't remember which of
Yeah,
those 2.
I think it's because Heather's preparing everything, so they wanted somebody else.
Someone else to make the
Some-
checks, that makes sense. Do we need a motion on that?
Like to get a motion vote, if possible?
Can I have one for approval of that resolution?
I move that we accept the, commission resolution of September 11th, 2019.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. All right. Now, you mentioned the commissioner appointment process.
Yes, I'll just go over that again. Our charter requires that there is a specific appointment process in the charter for commissioners. And I think it's worth bringing up now to make sure that we are following the charter. I believe recently at Monday's, Kevin, you correct me if I'm wrong, Monday's council meeting, was it, that the Lewiston commissioners were assigned
Last Tuesday?
last Tuesday?
Correct.
Okay. Lewiston and Auburn representatives are both similar. There are 3 reps to be assigned on a rotating basis. And the representative for Minot, actually Minot, Hebron, Buckfield, is to be assigned every year, and that's, by the bylaws, supposed to be on a rotating basis, but historically, Buckfield and Hebron have never chose to participate, so the Minot rep has always been the person that's assigned. And I believe you were assigned Monday,
I was.
it's just last month.
And there's paperwork been signed, and it's all official, and I'm sorry I didn't bring that paperwork with
Yep.
me.
Okay.
But I'll make sure you do get it.
Can I just
Thank you.
clarify, the vote in Lewiston was just to appoint Dale,
Correct.
not the other 2 Lewiston representatives?
Okay.
What about Turner?
In Auburn, there was a failed vote, so they have to start the process all over again.
Yeah, but as far as assignment for Turner,
You contacted
I did contact
clerk.
Turner and they had no record, so they're gonna be looking into it. No recent record of your appointment.
How often is that
so
appointment?
Should be
check-
yearly.
Well, okay. Turn
Yeah,
out
I
the
don't-
keep it up.
Record's very long.
I should check with the town manager.
So I've talked with the town manager, I also spoke with the clerk,
Mhm.
and they were gonna look at records. I was gonna follow up with an email, find out when the last appointment was and set up for the next appointment time.
So was Lewiston's appointment because the other two didn't need to be reappointed, or there's still, if Dale was only appointed?
Well,
I think
if-
Alicia's would have been as part of your
It was
process
Oh,
initially,
maybe it's
usually
part
in
of when I
January.
came onto the council.
Okay, so you're
Correct.
just on, okay.
We can confirm that one. Dale's because it was new staff,
Yep,
and I'm not sure that Joe Groovy's was,
oh,
his is a multi-year, I believe they're multi-year.
Yeah, Auburn's are 3-year terms.
Correct. And I'm not sure where Joe
so he
Groovy's is.
probably
Right.
I
wasn't
believe
on.
Joe's is a multi-year as well, but we'll need to confirm that, and where it's at.
Your assignment, Amy, is all set because
Right.
by your position,
Right, I
that is,
understand that, yep.
yeah, a commissioner,
And I think I have one more year.
right.
I will not be reappointed if the same Auburn council is in effect.
Well, actually, our commissioners are assigned by the water district,
I know.
yeah, but.
All right, if the same water district is,
yeah.
I will not be.
Just to be clear, it's not the city, but it's
Yeah,
the water
okay.
district that assigns commissioners.
Is it appropriate for me to make mention of one additional thing that bears on this issue? The bylaws of this company, of this commission, I believe state that the chair will be reelected annually.
Correct.
So whether I'm here or not here, you need a new chair, and apparently Bethel, you are it.
Well, there is a vice chair,
For the interim.
Which
I
is
think-
still
but
Joe.
there is a vice chair who is Joe, but he's not, Joe Groovy, he's not here today,
Right.
but.
Okay,
But-
sorry, I think I missed something, so John is, or has been, the appointee from Auburn Water District,
I'm one of the Auburn reps.
right? And so that was an unsuccessful,
No, what happened was, it's on a rotating basis, so it's a 3-year term, so they're on a staggered basis, so every year, one of them comes up for
Okay.
reappointment. John's came up this year. Our trustees were not able to complete the process to assign, a commissioner for that seat, so it's
Based
still
on a
vacant at this time.
failed vote, or?
Yeah, it was
a failed.
yeah, it was a failed nomination process, so we need to reassess that. We're gonna do that at our October trustee meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay, discussion of 2020 budget?
Yes, we are going to be working on a draft budget, and that will be available and posted. We will send it to commissioners. It will be posted on the website on Friday, October 11th. The last couple of years, we've made sure we've had it posted for 30 days prior to acceptance. So the last 2 years, we've been doing that, posting it a month in advance, and we'll have it for consideration at our next commission meeting, which is November 13th. So whether there's a vote on it at that time, if there isn't, then there is a scheduled meeting later in, a few weeks later in December to approve the budget. So we don't have anything available yet, but we will have a draft coming up to be published on October 11th.
Okay, thank you. Erica, water quality update and activity report, and let me say thank you for this, because this was really interesting and brought us up to date on what was going on, and I have some questions.
There's a lot going on. It's hard
Yeah.
sometimes I try to keep it concise, although it might not look like it, but there's a lot, and I wanna make sure that everything that we're doing gets at least touched upon, so, thank you. So actually, the first item on here, so the easement that the commission approved for property owned by Rex Rhodes and his wife at 880 Lakeshore Drive, I just got a final email today. The commission had approved the easement for him to put in a replacement leach field. So that is on commission property. It's a small area. The other options, as you probably remember, would have been closer to the lake, and this actually gets the system further away from the lake, from where the failed one is. So that work began on September 3rd, and I just got a note from Rex, came through on Monday of this week, that the work is done. It's kind of a photo, there's not much to see. It's just a cleared area that's got some seed and mulch, and there's a leach field under there, and hopefully nobody will really know it's there.
How close is that to the road?
It's pretty far back. He has a long driveway. It's not very close. I don't know how many feet, but he's kind of got a long winding driveway. It's pretty far away. You wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
Do you know who the contractor was?
I don't, actually. I'm not sure. So that's done. And you might have heard in the news, there was a fire on Salmon Point in August. Talked to the fire department about that. They suspected somebody was out there and had a small campfire, and it just got out of hand, and that whole area there's a ton of like woody debris on the ground, there's a lot of leaf litter, there's a lot of brush, there's a lot of blowdown, so it's just very dry, and if a flame starts, it's very easy to get something started there. So that flared up, they put it out, flared up again, about an acre and a half was burned. But they were able to successfully put it out. It just, unfortunately, was hard to completely put out the first time because it got into the root systems. So I guess when that happens, they can put it out and it looks like it's out, but if it gets down deep enough, it can keep burning and then pop up again at another location. So I had talked to the deputy fire chief about working with him and working with Tabers to get just some form of a little access path out to Salmon Point from the other side. There is the trail to the bottom of Maple Hill, and there's kind of a fire road in there. There's a trail up to Salmon Point, so you can walk in there. If this was on the other side, which is really hard to walk through and to get to. So that's something I'm going to work on with the fire department and Tabers. So you'd have to go across Tabers property to get to the commission land where that fire was. But this isn't the first time it's happened. It happened last year, almost the same exact date. So it's used, people are out there. Just unfortunately, they're out there and trying to have campfires, so it doesn't work. Pope property, we have a conservation easement on that property with Androscoggin Land Trust. And the agreement, this is my understanding, this was before I started, but in purchasing that property, the agreement was that the former owner wanted a conservation easement on that property and to have public access on part of it. So you can drive, there's a small sandy area, you can fit maybe 2 cars parking like this, and it's defined on a map. There's kind of a ridge line, and that's the open area, and past that there's no access, and you really wouldn't want to be down there. It's really swampy. But so I got a message from somebody at Androscoggin Land Trust who had gone out and was doing a field survey of this property for us, and he noticed that there were some deer stands. And so I contacted the game warden, and there actually ended up being 8 tree stands out there that they took down. So that was helpful, and I think people probably had hunted there for a while but didn't realize it had changed ownership.
Can you refresh my memory? I don't remember where the Pope property was.
Sure, so that's, it's on the southern part of the lake. Is it Summer Street?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right next to
Oh,
the Brooker.
I thought that was Hayes.
No, this is more in town.
Oh, okay.
You know where the Brooker?
Yeah.
Right next to that,
Oh, okay.
next lot over.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Ah,
And so, yes, we just put up a couple signs on Lakeshore Drive for Bethel's request for an area that people had been getting into the water, and it was just, if you're on Lakeshore Drive, it was just ahead of the actual public parking area. And I just noticed today, I drove by to confirm they were there and they were in the right location, and there was a spelling error on them, so they're down now, but they will get fixed and be going back up. Lauren couldn't be here today. She, as you know, is part-time, and she's taking classes at USM currently, so she has classes on Wednesday afternoons for this semester. But she's been doing a great job, and she's interested in signing on for another year with us, which is great. She's got some really creative ideas. She's thrown a lot of events here. I won't go over every single one, but try to make the connection with the community more, get out to small businesses, get out to some breweries, get people out on commission lands and involved with us and knowing what we're all about. So she's done a really good job with that, and she's preparing our fall winter schedule of events right now. And there was a day in October, Imagine a Day Without Water, which is pretty neat. So we're brainstorming events and how we can be involved with that.
Everyone drink beer.
Well, that's what we're going for. Yeah.
Wherever above says that.
Right.
There's no
If you
water
make
here.
me.
Yep.
Can I just say, those events have been great. I've ended up at
Oh,
a lot of
thank
them
you.
through other, not necessarily through, the Watershed Protection Commission, just through social networks. And so I
Good.
think, you're getting into a different market than before, so that's great.
Great. Yeah, that's a testament to Lauren. She's done a really good job with that.
So are they attended pretty well? I mean, or is it kind of, people are there and they kind of learn while they're there?
It's a bit of both. So we've tried both. So we tried some just as,
Or standalone?
for Watershed Protection Commission events. Like last spring we did the forestry series, and there weren't a ton of people at that. Then we did a native plant one. There were more people at that. The brewery, it's kind of who's
People are there, so you get
Right.
like an audience that,
and we kind of
yeah,
They
that's
listen,
good.
right.
Right.
have
Yeah,
some
well.
stickers and koozies and
Yeah.
information and say, hey, and people are pretty receptive to it. They're really nice and
That's good.
yeah. And the Art Walk actually was a good partnership because people were out for the Lewiston Art Walk. So that was a good way to get talking to a lot of people and meeting a lot of different people. And Lauren has started the Lake Smart program for Lake Auburn. As John knows, he was kind of our first property that we got involved with that program. I don't know if you have your signs yet, but Maggie Shannon
I
was.
passed on the first try.
Yes, you did, yes.
Formidable.
So just a little info about that. Lake Smart is a program that was started by Maine Lake Society. And what it is it's a way to go to lakefront or pondfront or just waterfront homes and do all voluntary, evaluation of your property. Is it lake friendly, basically? And you ask the homeowner a bunch of questions, and you walk the property, and you go over different ways that, you could improve on your lake friendly practices by, I don't know, putting in a rain garden or putting in, water bars or putting down some extra grass or reducing your paved area, those kinds of things. And it's a good way to get people involved and let them know, especially because this lake is a drinking water source. It's one thing if it's a recreational lake and that's it, and you wanna keep it clean so that you can enjoy it and you don't have algae blooms, but when it's a water source, that's another, it's another important factor. And we also wanna start this on Little Wilson Pond, because Lake Auburn only has 13, I think, lakefront property, homes, private ownership, but Little Wilson has several, so I think that would be a good opportunity. Yeah, it's a lot to get in with. The alum treatment, I'll talk about that a little bit more, but Lauren is going to put together a video on that. We have some really good footage of the barge that went out and did the treatment, all the people involved, some interviews, so, as we proceed with that, we'll have more material to put together into it and find a good way to wrap that video up based on how it goes for us actually, out in the field. And Lauren is interested in staying on for another year, so that's great. The alum treatment, so we started that on July 10th, and we postponed it on August 2nd. That was the last day that we did the treatment, because there were residual levels of aluminum that we were finding in our treated water and in the distribution system. Nothing was above the secondary standard for drinking water. So that, the secondary standards are an aesthetic standard, so you might get some taste or odor issues. It's not a public health concern, it's not it won't impact your health, it's not that level. So we never did cross that secondary standard, which is a 0.2 milligrams per liter of aluminum, but we were getting close to it and we didn't want to exceed it. So that is why we put a halt on the treatment. And it's been over a month now, and we've had our laboratory staff, they've tested every day, to see what the aluminum levels were, and they have dropped consistently. Right now, they're about a .01. Is that what our latest was? And so our staff, we're still talking about whether we want to continue or not. We just had a meeting today. We're going to talk again next week. Treatment wise, operation wise, there's a lot of different things to think about.
I think it's at a point, I don't know if it mattered, .08, I think it's kind of where we.
.08?
Yeah.
Okay, so even below, yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, not .01, .08. So we'll be discussing that next week, and we've got good partners who have helped us make informed decisions. Pauline Ewing from Bates, Ken Wagner from Water Resource Services, Ty and Bond is a good consultant. So we're not just making decisions in a vacuum. We try to get as much input as we can.
So if the treatment was to be halted now, would it resume at a later date, or you would just stop completely at this point?
We're considering restarting near the middle to end of September, mostly end of September.
Yeah.
Versus going through the winter and restarting in the spring. Those are all within the permit
Okay,
that we're allowed, and we're just trying to decide what's the
best
Yeah.
route?
Is there any effect of the lake turnover in the fall with the treatment?
We asked that same question, actually, and as far as applying alum and the way that it works to make flock, no. Once the lake is fully mixed versus right now it is still stratified, you have the warmer upper layer, you have your thermocline, then you have the cooler, deeper water. Treating when it's stratified versus when it's fully mixed.
What they've said is actually even if it's colder, the temperature doesn't really affect the actual dosing in the lake. It's more of the storage and handling of the product if it gets below 40 degrees. So,
I can do the same thing the spring when it turns over, so.
Watershed project, so we had a source water protection grant for a new flow meter at the outlet of Townsend Brook, and that was installed this summer.
Erica, excuse me.
Yeah.
Is that between the bog and the road, or is that on the other side of the bog? Where
On the
exactly
lake
is the
side.
outlet?
The lake side, so.
Okay, right before it goes into the lake.
Exactly,
Ah,
exactly, right, yep.
huh.
So I'm actually gonna get the data from that downloaded next week, so we'll have that available with our phosphorus data, because we collect phosphorus samples at the outlet of Townsend. So having flow and phosphorus data can give us an idea of what's our total mass of phosphorus coming into the lake from that point, which will be good. And we have some background data. We had a few huge reports done previously by CDM Smith with Ken Wagner of Water Resources, and CES was a part of it, and they had identified Townsend Brook as being one of the significant sources of phosphorus coming into the lake. They figured, I think, 120 to 130 kilograms per, I don't know, per year, something like that. So it's a known issue, and before I came on board there, our lab staff were still sampling there too for phosphorus, and it's consistently higher than what the average is for the entire lake, so we know that's an issue. I put out a request for proposals for phosphorus mitigation project on what we're calling Blanchard Pond. It's off Blanchard Road, which is right off Route 4. It's kind of North Auburn, right after, what's the tractor sales? Wallingford's? It is, okay.
across from Roy's.
So it's right behind there, yeah, across from Roy's. Yeah, those were due yesterday. I was out yesterday and the day before, but I don't have anything back from that yet, so I might need to reissue it. I don't know if we just didn't give enough, if I didn't give enough time for people to, or tap the right consultants for it, but that's a project that we also wanna work on. That pond is full of phosphorus. We have readings in the hundreds of micrograms per liter, which normally they're single or double digits in the lake. I mean, it's bad.
Is it surrounded by farms or?
Yes.
Or cottages?
Farmland.
Farmland?
So we picked that up last summer, and then that's when we first sampled it. We didn't just wanna rely on one data point, so we've added that into our routine sampling. We have a full year, except with the winter time, ice on, but we have a full year of sampling there, so it is consistently high there, we know it's a problem, and it's coming into the lake from the drainage from there. So we wanna address that, that's on the list. And in August, we had a contractor come in, there was a failed culvert on the old Lund Road, which is off of Holbrook Road, it connects Holbrook Road and Percy Hill Road, or used to. It's all vegetated now, and there's actually 3 crossings where streams go, right across that old road, and there's one that had a culvert in there, and it completely collapsed in, and it was causing really bad erosion issues, so that's successfully been dug out, repaired, we should get better water flow there, and less sediment moving, it's just more effective overall. As I mentioned, for the lake, it's still stratified right now, and we still have oxygen on the bottom, which is good. Surface temperatures are cooling, which is great. It's been a little cooler this time of year than last year, so we're seeing things change as far as stratification a little faster than last year. We're still working with Bates. We have students that come out once a week and do their sampling. We're working with Trinity College as well. And our courtesy boat inspector just finished up her last inspection days this past weekend. And we haven't had any invasives picked up coming into the Route 4 boat launch this summer, so that's always good news.
What's the status of milfoil now? Has it increased any or?
Not that I know of. It really is only up in the northern.
Basin?
Yeah, it's in the basin, and then it's in the
Yeah,
northern
yeah,
part that
yeah.
connects right from the outlet of the basin
Yeah.
in the lake. But we have, our staff are out there every week and they sample every week, and as far as I know, it's not any more than it was before.
Is there a flow meter at the North Auburn Inlet?
There's one at the dam, the North Auburn Dam, yep,
Cause I could remember if they had one or not.
yes.
Thank you. That was great. Open session. Hello, public.
Just for what it's worth, I happened to be taking my boat out on the day they had the fire on Salmon Point, and watched Auburn Fire appear on the scene, and with, all the trucks came in, and they were putting out these Kodiak type rubber boats, and they were loading up in gear. They were gonna fight the fire from water and from land, because they sent some fire trucks out the other way. They were pretty well equipped and, got it going in good shape. So that was fairly impressive. We just stood out of the way and let them do their thing. The pond that you were talking about, Erica, is located where?
It's on Blanchard Road, which is
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Yep. right by Wallingford's.
Okay.
It's actually the first property there. Looks like they have some greenhouses. There's the home, and then it's just down the hill. It's in that low point.
Isn't that MJ's old house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Public session is well.
John, did you see the helicopter? When they had the fire at Salmon Point?
Oh, yeah.
No, I
We
didn't
did.
see it.
It went over.
Did you?
It's intended by air, land, and sea?
Yes.
Yes. Forgot to mention that, thank you.
Little trivia of the Blanchard Road drainage. This is a long time ago, but that whole field, they installed drain tile. And I don't know if that increases the drainage where you don't get the saturation. But that whole field has got a 4-inch, PVC flex drain tile.
Really?
Oh, I saw it, when I live in Terrace, I always go by there, but this is a long time ago, but I didn't always question about, the soil saturation, it's permeable, but with that drain tile, to me, that would increase, and I'm sure it all pitches down to the actual ditch that goes across the Route 4 highway. But that, just increases the volume to me as opposed to going back in the soils.
Does that connect with Townsend?
Well,
Eventually?
eventually, that's where it leads to.
Yeah.
No, that one actually
And
doesn't.
it actually, it comes out really close to Townsend, but it actually drains, so you have the pond, it goes under Blanchard Road, it goes into a wetland area, and that goes through someone else's property, goes underneath Route 4, and,
Where does it go under Route 4?
Right across from the church, the
Right.
log
Oh, yes,
church.
Yes,
yeah.
There's a hole right there, and there's a little
so
pond.
it'd be to the
You-
right
you
of
can see it.
Walgreens?
Yeah,
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
more in town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Huh.
Yep, and there's a culvert there, and so we've sampled from the pond at that culvert that's under Route 4, and then in the lake where it outlets. So we kind of have that
Kind
flow.
of deceiving when you see the contours by Route 4 and
It
I learned
is,
something new.
it is, yeah.
I'm sure if you dig around there, you'll find those tiles.
That's good to
Not
know, I had not
uncommon
heard
to
of
find.
that.
It's not uncommon.
Oh, no, I mean, that was part of the drainage procedures.
Dry things out.
Because
so
I
they
mean,
don't-
I think sometimes they had crops that were size hay, so. But, there's a lot in there.
Good to know.
Okay, there is an open session for commissioners. Does anyone have anything to add?
Can I ask a clarifying question? Did you say we will have the December 4th meeting?
It's slated, but it's optional in case we need it. In case the budget isn't approved in November, we do have a slot open in December that we could use to ratify the budget.
Great.
We historically haven't needed that December meeting, but it's there if we need it.
And then when would we set the following year's meeting?
We haven't used it in ages.
No, we haven't.
The November meeting.
Yeah, November meeting, I'll schedule the calendar of meetings for the next year.
Okay, it would be helpful to have for if there's going to be a new council representative.
Okay, could we have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
I have to read the whole thing, sorry,
Okay.
Dick.
You want it here?
Make a motion on the updated land negotiations, executive session regarding negotiations for potential land transaction in accordance with 1 MRSA 405, 6C.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Okay,
You're on.
great. Got a few things to,
John left.
I think John left.
Okay.
To continue either negotiations or information on those on A, B, and C.
So the first motion then is to authorize Sid to purchase the land, to purchase,
The
make it,
property.
the property of, described as property A. Do we need to add the pending further review of environmental site assessment?
Sure.
And do we need to add
as
the?
discussed in executive session.
Yeah, and we don't need to discuss the agreement on the trail thing, the ATV?
That's all,
Part of the conditions.
And
prior to-
property B, you're going to see if we can carve it up? Yeesh.
Well,
Yeah.
we should deal with the motion for property A first.
Yeah.
Oh,
so-
okay.
So that was, so
So I
we
wrote-
have
Was that a motion?
So I wrote down to purchase property A for the agreed price pending the environmental assessment.
Would anyone like to move that?
Can we say with conditions as discussed in the executive session?
Sure.
Yep,
So
got
that it
that.
includes the ATV trail? Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll
Any
second.
discussion? Those in favor? The ayes have it. All right, property B.
I'd like to move to continue discussions of parceling out the property with the property owner as discussed in executive session. Did I cover it all?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Those in favor? The yeses carry, the ayes carry. All right, property C.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Sid to proceed with an appraisal on property C as discussed in executive session.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? No. It carries.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Good job.
No discussion.